Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to your online lecture series of EE314 Measurements and Instrumentation. This is the second lecture of week 2, your lecture number 30. And in this lecture, we are going to continue discussing the digital signal conditioning circuits. This is the part 2 of that series. And in this particular lecture, we are going to discuss what are ADCs, analog to digital converters, DACs, digital to analog converters, frequency based converters, and the characteristics of digital data. Let's get started with what are digital to analog converters or DACs. Digital to analog converters are devices that take a digital data as their input and produce an analog data as their output. As we know that with the advancement of digital electronics, most of the data processing is done digitally inside a microprocessor or a microcontroller. So we have to convert our data to a digital form and then process it. But then when we have to send that processed data back to our real world, most of the data handling in the real world is done in analog domain. So it is necessary to receive the data from the real world in the form of analog values and convert them into digital values using ADCs and process it and then convert that processed digital data back into analog data to send it back to the real world. So how do DACs operate? We'll go into the details of that later. But for now, let's see what is the relationship or what is the formula that is used by the digital to analog converters to convert that analog to convert that digital input into an analog output. This formula right here represents the relationship between the analog V out and the digital data, that is the binary data represented by B0, B1, B2, B3 up to Bn. So this V out is the analog voltage output, VR is the reference voltage, that is the maximum voltage that can be achieved at the output of the DAC, and these B's are the binary bits, n-bit binary word. It is possible to represent this same formula in a simplified form that is represented here in equation number 2, and that is V out is equal to n over 2 raised to power n into VR. So here the capital N is the base 10 whole number equivalent of the DAC input, and this small n is the number of bits in that binary word. So to further elaborate this formula, let's do an example where the target is to find the output of a 10-bit DAC with a 10 volt VR or the reference voltage if A, the input is this, and B, the input is this. In the first part, we have to simply put this number into this formula and we'll find out what will be the value of V out produced by this 10-bit digital to analog converter. In the second case, we have to convert this 20FH, that is a 10-bit number, into its decimal form and then use this formula to find out what would be the value of V out. And in the third one, the author is asking that what input is needed to get a 6.5 volt output. So what we can simply do is we can use this formula and we can put 6.5 instead of V out. N is unknown, 2 raised to power n is 2 raised to the power 10, and VR is 10 volts. So 6.5 is equal to n over 1024 into 10, and then we can find n, that is the value of your whole number equivalent to the DAC input. So for the first part, the V out is calculated to be 5.14648 volts, and to get our 6.5 volt output we need n is equal to 665.6. so we will take 666 as a whole number and convert it into binary form. This is a case of a unipolar DAC in which the V out ranges between 0 volts up to the V reference. But there is another type that is called a bipolar DAC, and in case of a bipolar DAC, the output changes between a negative voltage to 0 to a positive voltage. So there are both positive and negative voltages in a bipolar DAC, while in a unipolar DAC there are only positive voltages and 0. So for a bipolar DAC that can produce a negative voltage also at the output, this is the formula, and effectively what we are doing is we are just subtracting half of the V reference from whatever V out we are getting. So it's a fairly simple formula to understand, and again elaborated through an example. It is stated that a bipolar DAC has 10 bits and a reference of 5 volts. So what will be the output if the input is this and then this? So what digital input gives a 0 output voltage? What I can tell from this, that a DAC has 10 bits, so the 2 raised to power n is 1024. This means that the 0 will be at half of this value, so at 512 it will give a 0 output. So let's see here, n is equal to 512 where the output will be 0, and in the other cases we can just use this simple formula, and we can find out what can be the value of DAC. We have already discussed these that how to calculate the output voltage of a DAC, and how to convert the analog input into a digital output in case of ADC in our previous course, that was microprocessor systems. So there shouldn't be any issue in understanding these concepts. And again, we have also covered the conversion resolution, but just to give you a revision of that concept, I'm just stating here that the conversion resolution, as this is a digital data, there must be a resolution and there must be a step involved in there, so that del V out is the step of voltage produced at the output, and that is equal to VR into 2 raised to power minus n. And this means that the DAC output will be in the form of this. So there are steps, and this is the del V out. So to further clarify this concept of resolution, he has given an example that a 5-bit digital to analog converter with a 10 volt reference will have a resolution of 0.3125 volts per bit. So you can give a minimum of this much step in voltages, that is shown right here, and you cannot go below this resolution. So that is effectively an inaccuracy in your reading. Then there is another concept, and that is related to the maximum output that can be generated by the digital to analog converter, and we generally assume that it is equal to the V reference, but that is not the case. How? Let's go back to this formula. If we see this formula very carefully, it is V out is equal to n over 2 raised to power small n into VR. So here let me write it again. V out is equal to capital N over 2 raised to the power n into VR. Now let's assume if small n is equal to 8, this means that it is an 8-bit digital to analog converter. And let's say VR is equal to 10 volts or any value for that instant. V out would be maximum when this n, the capital N, is maximum. And what can be the maximum value of capital N in case of an 8-bit number? An 8-bit number ranges between 0 to 255. But what is the value of 2 raised to power 8? That is equal to 256. So this means that 255 over 256 into VR can be the V out maximum. This means that if we want to get a 10 volt at the output, we have to use VR greater than 10 volts because 255 over 256 is less than 1. So the whole of VR will not be generated at the output of the DAC, and that is what is explained in this example, that you need a full 10 volt output from the DAC, and the DAC was 8-bit. So this 255 over 256 is equal to 0.9961 into VR. This value is equal to 0.9961, and then if you need a full 10 volt output, you have to have a VR of value 10.039, and that comes by dividing 10 with 0.9961. So I think this concept is fairly clear also. So the question is, how does a digital to analog converter work? What is the internal structure of a DAC? So generally speaking, a DAC is used as a black box, and no knowledge of the internal working is actually required when you already have a DAC IC. But if you are designing a digital to analog converter, then you have to know what is the working principle. And even if you are not designing a digital to analog converter, you have to have some knowledge in briefly understanding how that conversion is implemented inside that black box. So the simplest conversion uses a series of op-amps for input, for which the gains have been selected to provide an output as given earlier. And the most common variety uses a resistive ladder network to provide that transfer function. And here is one of the most common forms of the digital to analog converters. So what you have to do is derive the relationship of this circuit V out is equal to f of V ins, that is function of B4, B3, B2 and B1. So what is the actual relationship? What is this function between V out and V ins that are B1, 2, 3 and 4? So that is your assignment number 4. And at the end of this derivation, you will see that this digital data that is input to this system, this circuit of the digital to analog converter, is converted to analog output voltage through the same formula that we discussed earlier. There is one more circuit that is used for the implementation of digital to analog converters, and let us discuss that. So here I am going to draw another format through which analog digital input can be converted into an analog output using the same formula, and I will derive that and I will prove that and this circuit is different from the one presented in your textbook that has been given to you as an assignment. So let's start here. So this is an operational amplifier. There are 4 inputs and 1 output, and these 4 inputs are the bit 0, bit 1, bit 2 and bit 3. This resistance in the feedback is R. The resistance, input resistance connected with bit 0 is 16R. The one input resistance, the one that is connected with B1, is equal to 8R. This is 4R and this is 2R. And if we see carefully, this circuit is nothing more but a simple inverting summing amplifier. Weighted sum of all the inputs. So let's write its transfer function, that is V out is equal to negative into R over 16R into B naught plus R over 8R into B1 plus R over 4R into B2 plus R over 2R into B3. So this means that V out is equal to B naught over 16 plus B1 over 8 plus B2 over 4 plus B3 over 2 whole with a negative sign. And if we further simplify this equation, we can see that V out is equal to negative into B naught into 2 raised to power minus 4 plus B1 into 2 raised to power minus 3 plus B2 into 2 raised to power minus 2 plus B3 into 2 raised to power minus 1. So if you multiply this given equation, this above equation, with negative VR, the equation will become V out is equal to VR into 2 raised to power minus 4 B naught plus 2 raised to power minus 3 B1 plus 2 raised to power minus 2 B2 plus 2 raised to power minus 1 B3. And that is exactly the relationship that we studied earlier in our slides. Let me show here. This is the relationship. V out is equal to VR into B1 2 raised to power minus 1, B2 2 raised to power minus 2, and so on. So there are two things to note here. In the author's case, B1 is the most significant digit and Bn is the least significant digit, and it's an n-bit binary number, and he is starting counting from the most significant bit and he is calling it B1 not B0. And in our case, our number will look like B3, B2, B1 and B0. So this is the MSB and this is the LSB. And in case of your book, this is the number B1, B2, B3 and B4, and this is his MSB and this is his LSB. So effectively, if we replace these numbers, if we replace B3 with B1 and B2 with B2, B1 with B3 and B0 with B4, this formula we derived here is same as this formula as given in your book. So the circuit that we have studied, this circuit is a very simple digital to analog converter, and that is a very accurate digital to analog converter. So let's continue with the other characteristics of a digital to analog converter. A DAC has a digital input and it is typically a parallel binary word. There is a power supply and a reference supply. In some of the cases, the power supply is used as the reference supply, but in many cases, the user is given the liberty to choose the reference himself, and that reference can be a different value within the range of that power supply. But that reference must be a very stable and a low ripple source. There is an output that is an analog output, and that analog output is representing the digital input. There can be an offset in the DAC output because the DAC is usually implemented using the op amps, and in the op amps portion we already discussed that then there can be a problem of offset, and in case of op amps we used to give a counter offset at the inputs to adjust that offset in the output, and similarly in case of DACs there are some separate inputs provided to adjust that offset and to make that zero adjustment to remove that zero error. Then in many DACs there is the option of a data latch. What is a data latch? A data latch is a function that whenever the inputs of a DAC are changed, the output is not suddenly changed. In case of an op amp, in case of an op amp circuit like this, as soon as the input changes, the output changes. Just there is a propagation delay of this op amp that is due to the capacitor inside. Otherwise, there is no significant delay in the propagation of inputs to the outputs. So as the DAC is implemented using operational amplifiers, the data effectively suddenly transfers from the input to the output. So as soon as the input changes, the output changes, but usually we don't want that. So there is another terminal, another control terminal input that is provided in the DACs, and what that does is, even if the inputs of the DAC or the op amps change, the output will not appear at the DAC's output until a signal is given to the enable pin. So the output data will be updated based on the input data at the will of the user. So these are some of the basic characteristics of a digital to analog converter. It is a fairly simple circuit and it is a fairly powerful device, and it is extensively used as an interface between the analog systems and the digital systems at the output side of a digital system. And now coming to the input side of the digital system. When an analog system and a digital system are connected together, they have to have a two-way communication between them. The analog system has to be able to communicate with the digital system, and the digital system has to be able to communicate with the analog system. The digital system sends analog signals to the analog world using digital to analog converters, as we just saw, and the analog system or the analog portion sends signals to the digital world using the ADC by converting their analog signal to a digital signal that can be read and processed by the digital system. And what that ADC will do is that it will find a fractional binary number that gives the closest approximation to the fraction formed by the input voltage and the reference, just like represented in this formula. So this is the digital data produced by the ADC. This is the input voltage at the input of the ADC, and this is the reference voltage of the ADC. For instance, if you have an input of 2 volts and a reference of 5 volts, the analog data is now 2/5 of the reference voltage, and that 2 over 5 is multiplied by 256 to convert it into a digital data of 8 bit. And the uncertainty again in this case is given by delta V, just like in case of DEX. So that uncertainty is the same. Delta V is equal to VR into 2 raised to power minus N. Same was the uncertainty in case of digital to analog converter. Here, if you can see in the DAC portion, del V out is equal to VR into 2 raised to power minus N. And let's further elaborate it using an example. So the temperature is measured by a sensor with an output of 0.02 volts per degree centigrade, and we are asked to determine the required ADC reference and the word size to measure 0 to 100 degree centigrade with 0.1 degree resolution. So first let's find out what would be the reference voltage required. 0.02 volts per degree centigrade means that for 100 degree centigrade, 100 into 0.02, that is 2 volts maximum is required. And a resolution of 0.1 degree centigrade means that a resolution in terms of voltage will be 0.002 volts, because this is per degree centigrade and we need a resolution of 0.1 degree centigrade, 1/10 of a degree centigrade. So this is divided by 1/10. So this will be your VR and this will be your del V. And now you have VR, del V, and we can easily find out what can be that N, and that N would define the resolution of the ADC. So let's find out. VR is 2 volts. The del V is 2 millivolts, 0.002, that is 2 millivolts. So this means that 0.002 is equal to 2 into 2 raised to power minus N. That N can be found easily using a log on the both sides, and that comes out to be 9.996. So a 10-bit word is required. And if we see what would be the new del V in that case, and that would be equal to 2 into 2 raised to power minus 10, that is 0.00195, so 1.95 millivolts, that is within the required limits of 2 millivolts, or even better than that. So now what would happen if an 8-bit ADC was selected? What would be its resolution? The resolution can be very easily found. Divide the maximum possible value, the digital value, the reference voltage with the maximum possible digital value. So 2 over 1024 would be equal to del V, and 2 over 1024 means, let me find out, that comes out to be equal to 0.00195, just like shown here for our 10-bit ADC, 0.00195. And in case of an 8-bit ADC, the maximum voltage was this, the maximum number of steps were this. So 2 over 256 would be equal to 0.007813 if we had used an 8-bit ADC. So our resolution would have been 7.8 millivolts. That was way above our requirements, and that would not have met the design requirements of our system. And we have discussed this extensively in our microprocessor systems course. So I hope up till here there wouldn't be any confusion, because all these concepts have been previously discussed in our earlier courses. And again, in case of ADC also, there can be a bipolar operation. So the ADC can have a bipolar input. Now as the output of ADC is binary, so binary is just a binary number, it's a set of ones and zeros. That bipolar is always associated with the analog portion of ADC or the DAC. So in case of a bipolar DAC, the output can be either a positive or a negative voltage out, analog voltage out. And in case of a bipolar ADC, the input can be an analog positive or a negative voltage input. So again, elaborating it using an example, an 8-bit ADC with a 10 volt reference can have V in changing from -5 to 4.961. It cannot go up to +5 because of the same limitation as we discussed in case of the digital to analog converters. And the corresponding digital values in case of all these numbers is are mentioned here, and that is very easy to calculate. The most important characteristics of ADCs is the conversion time. In case of DACs, we discussed that there is effectively almost a zero conversion time because we are using op amps, and it only takes a fraction of microseconds to for the data to travel from the input to the output. There is no processing being involved inside that digital to analog converter. But in case of ADCs, there is a conversion time. A typical ADC does not produce the digital output instantaneously when the analog voltage is applied to its input terminal, because the ADC must sequence through a process to find the appropriate digital output, and this process takes time. And this is one of the reasons that handshaking lines are required. And the handshaking is the communication between the ADC and the microprocessor. So the microprocessor asks the ADC to start or stop the conversion, and then at the end of the conversion, the ADC will tell the microprocessor back that okay, now my conversion is finished, so now you can read the data. And this is the structure of a successive approximation of parallel feedback system for an ADC. So again, most ADCs are available in the form of ICs just like DACs, but to fully appreciate the characteristics of these devices, it is valuable and it is important to examine the standard techniques that are used to apply these conversions. And without going into the detailed structure of this ADC, we cannot understand why there is the problem of that conversion time. So let's find out using this figure. First, let's see how this figure works, how this particular design of ADC works. Why does it take time to convert the analog input to a digital output? And then we will discuss another method that also takes time to convert the analog input to a digital output, but that is a much simpler design to understand. This is also a fairly simple circuit. Just pay attention. So here we have a few components. There is a comparator, that is a digital device that can give either a 1 or a 0. Then there is this logic counting network. What's inside that? We'll discuss that. The output of this counter is an n-bit number, and that is a digital value, and that is actually the output of the digital output of the ADC. But we can see that digital output is going into a digital to analog converter or a DAC as its input, and then that DAC produces a corresponding analog output that is given as a feedback, as a reference to the reference of the comparator. So what is happening here? This logic counting network has an internal structure of something like this. This is an enable pin, this is a clock pin, and here some waveform is coming, a fixed waveform of a fixed frequency is coming, and here are the 4 bits of the counter output. and these are some digital data, and they are going to the inputs of the DAC. So this is a 4-bit DAC and this is a 4-bit counter, and this enable is coming from the output of that comparator, and the input, the reference input of that comparator is connected with the DAC, while the other input is connected with the VX, that is the analog input. So this counter will start from 0 0 0 0. Here is some input. The input value is, let's say, 2 volts, and the VR, the reference value VR here at the DAC is 5 volts. Now the counter is all zeros, so the input of the DAC is all zeros and the output of the DAC is 0, and this input 2 is greater than 0, so the enable is 1, and as soon as the next clock pulse comes, this counter will increment and this 0 will become 1. And now this DAC, the input of this DAC was incremented, so the output of this DAC will change from 0 to a certain value. To what value? Let's find out. This can count from 0 to 15, so its resolution is 5 over 15, 1 over 3. So the output of the DAC will become 0.333 volts. And still this 0.333 volts is less than our input voltage, that was 2 volts. So now again this enable will remain 1 and the next clock pulse will come. And at the next clock pulse, this counter will further increment and it will become 0010, and again the DAC output will become 0.6667, and still it is less than 1, so it is keep counting up to 3 and then to 4, 100, and then to 110, 111. It will keep counting until the output of this DAC is equal to or greater than 2. And as soon as the output of the DAC is greater than or equal to 2, now our input, it is greater than our input, so this enable will become 0 and there will be no more increment on the next clock pulse. And when there is no increment on the next clock pulse, there is another circuit that detects whether there was an increment or not, and it will send a signal that the end of conversion is now there, and the data at that time at the output of this counter is the actual binary value of that ADC. So you see that many clock pulses were required to convert that analog data into a digital output, and this clock has a frequency, so it has a time period, and that time period into the number of pulses required to convert that data, that analog data, into the digital data results in the conversion time. So now I think that would be fairly clear why a conversion time is associated in case of ADC conversion and not with the digital to analog conversion. There is another method or another design that is even easier to understand the working of a analog to digital converter, and let's discuss it here. So let me draw that circuit, that flash ADC conversion circuit here. So there are 4 comparators, and the output of these comparators is the input. Sorry, there are 3 comparators, and the outputs of these comparators are the inputs of a 4 to 2 priority encoder. I will come to what is a priority encoder, but let's first finish this circuit. So here we have our V in, and here we have our VREF. 3 resistors, these are R and this is our VR. And then we have 4 to 2 priority encoders, so this is B1 and B0. So what does a priority encoder do? What is a priority encoder? An encoder is something that encodes the input and produces an encoded output. For example, if this input was 1, the output would be would be encoded because this was the third input, so output would be 3 and B0 and B1 would be 1 1. If this input was 1 and all the others were 0, so input number 2 was 1, so it will encode it to 1 0. Output would be 2. So more number of inputs are encoded into less number of outputs. But what is a priority encoder? A priority encoder will do the same thing but with priority to the highest bit, that is 1. In case of encoders, only one of these inputs can be 1 at a time. No more than one of these inputs can be 1 at a time. In case of priority encoder, more than one inputs can be 1 at a time. So now the encoder will be confused. A regular encoder will be confused that it is a third input is 1 or second input is 1, or what should I do? What should I display at my output? Whether I should display 3 or whether I should display 2, because both the inputs were 1. But in case of a priority encoder, the priority will be given to the highest input, that was 1. How does it work? What is the internal logic circuit? There are still some flip-flops and latches and some sequential circuit inside this priority encoder. So that sequential circuit has a clock, and that clock results in conversion time. So don't get confused that okay, this is fairly simple, there shouldn't be any conversion time in this. There would be a conversion time in this, because inside this priority encoder is a sequential logic circuit that has a clock, and when there is a clock, there is a conversion time. Now coming to how this ADC works. This is a 2-bit ADC. So we have a VIN, a VR, 3 comparators, and the fourth input is grounded. It is a 4 to 2 binary encoder. Your VIN is supplied at the positive inputs of all the comparators. Your VR is supplied directly to the negative input on this top priority comparator. So if your VIN is greater than VR, this would be 1, and straightforward B0 and B1 both would be 1, because this would get the highest priority. But what would be the state of the others? If your VIN is greater than VR, it is definitely greater than this also, so this would be 1, this would be 1, this would be 1. But the priority would be given to the highest one, and B0, B1 would be 1. But what if your VIN was smaller than VR? So what is here? What is the voltage at this point? Let's find out. The voltage at this point is the voltage drop across these two resistors combined. So the voltage at this point is 2R over 3R into VR. R plus R over R plus R plus R. So 2R over 3R. So 2 by 3 VR. So here the input is VR. Here it is 0.666 VR. And here it is 0.333 VR. And here it is 0. So there are just 4 levels. Your input is being converted into a digital data that has only 4 levels. And which digital data has 4 levels? 2 raised to power 2. A 2-bit data has 4 states: 0, 1, 2 and 3. 0, 1, 2 and 3. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1. So this is effectively being converted into a 2-bit digital data, and it is a fairly simple circuit, but again it has conversion time problems, maybe more than the circuit we discussed earlier, or maybe less than the circuit we discussed earlier. That you can find it out yourself. But the point here is to explain that how these black boxes or how these integrated circuits actually work and what's inside them. So I hope now you understand the working of ADCs, and here is one example to find out what would be the values of the digital data if a certain range of inputs is applied. So it is fairly simple mathematics, no need to go into the details. There are other types of ADC, but we are not going to discuss them because there is no need to go into details of each and every type of ADC. There are ramp ADCs and there are dual slope converters. The dual slope converters are and the ramp ADC are exactly the same as the instruments that we discussed for the voltmeter construction in our chapter 7 previously. So these two are fairly similar to those two types of digital voltmeters. So let's see what is happening and what is required in this example. A temperature measurement is being made and the sensor has an output of 6.5 millivolts per degree centigrade, and it must measure temperatures up to 100 degrees centigrade. A 6-bit ADC is being used with a 10 volt reference. So they are asking us to develop a circuit to interface the sensor and the ADC. Now here is a trick to develop a circuit to interface the sensor and the ADC. The sensor outputs this much voltage and it must measure up to 100 degrees centigrade. So 6.5 into 100 is 0.65 volts. So this is the maximum V out of the sensor. But what is the maximum V in of the ADC, 6-bit ADC? That is 10 volts. So we have to convert this 0.65 volts into 10 volts. So we have to give it a gain of 10 over 0.65, and that is equal to 15. So first we will give it a gain of 15 and convert it from 0.65 from this value to 0 to 10 volts to utilize the full range of the ADC as we discussed earlier. If we do not give it this much gain, what's going to happen? What will be the consequences if we are not giving it a gain and we are not converting it to this voltage level? Let's find out. It's a 6-bit ADC, right? So its maximum digital value is 2 raised to the power 6, and that is 64. So it can count maximum up to 64. With a 10 volt reference, what is the resolution? 10 over 64. The resolution is the del V in this case is 0.1563 volts. And if our maximum voltage, input voltage is 0.65, how many steps are we getting? Into 4, you can say. This into 4 is equal to 0.625. See, this is the resolution and this is your maximum input. So you are getting just 4 steps. So what is the resolution of temperature you are getting? This 0.65 corresponds to 100 degrees centigrade. Divide it in 4 steps. So you are getting a resolution of 25 degrees centigrade per step if you don't do this. But if you do this, what is the resolution you are getting now? This is converted into a full 0 to 10 volt range. So this 100 is now being broken into 64 steps. So what is the resolution here? The resolution is 1.56 degrees centigrade per step. See the difference? That's why it is important to utilize the full range of an ADC. If you don't utilize the full range of ADC, the resolution is affected very severely. So this is the circuit that they have implemented, and they have calculated that the resolution of temperature is 1.59 degrees centigrade, as we discussed here. So now I think you would understand how important it is to utilize the full range of an ADC. And now we have started to combine the analog signal conditioning with the digital signal conditioning, and we have started to relate these two and combine them to form a complete signal conditioning circuit.
So in this lecture, we have discussed the basic concepts of ADC and DAC and the characteristics, and next we are going to discuss the consequences of conversion time, the sampling, the characteristics of digital data, and concepts like that. So that's it for today's lecture. See you in the next lecture, inshallah. Take care, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.